So as Kevin said, I have plus 15 years of experience in accounting, and I have seen changes in accounting in the past 15 years, how it has been moving from manual accounting, where we used to write the books on paper, to now automated softwares where you just have to scan the receipt and you are done. So and plus, but there are much more to come. So the accounting changes has not finished yet. They are still ongoing and they will continue to be in the next 5 or 6 years. So today we are going to talk about these 10 most anticipated changes to watch for in the accounting processes in this year or in the years to come. Pandemic has fast forwarded these changes. These changes has been there for some long time, but the progress was a little bit slow. Now the because of the pandemic, because of the work from home, because of the distance things, the changes are very fast. So we're gonna go look after these changes one by one, and then we will be open up for the discussions over it, and we will be happy to take your questions. So the first thing, as you would imagine, is the role of artificial intelligence in accounting. So now, if you are a experienced accountant, which you may be having 10 years or 15 years of experience, you might realize that the artificial intelligence has been changing everything, right? Now you see apps like Zoho, you see Zero, you look at all these small Android apps which are coming there for the easiness of accounting. So the role of artificial intelligence is increasing. In the past, even the totaling of the general ledger has to be done manually by somebody, right? So there was few people who would write the books, one people for just only totaling up, and then the data analysis would take months to complete. Now, with the artificial intelligence, that process is short, is real time. Now you just do the transaction, everything is updated, and the analysis are done automatically. So how artificial intelligence will change the face of accounting? It will automate the mundane jobs. So what are the mundane jobs of accounting? Usually the accounting requires keying of the invoices, right? The setup of the chart of accounts is pretty much done now manually, because the every business is different, but there are some standard and common account types. The financial statements are standardized, so those things are standards. Then the maintaining jobs are usually the totaling up, the posting of ledgers to the other side of the books, taking up the invoices, following up of the invoices, and then collecting the payments, recording the payments. Now, artificial intelligence will make automation of all of these transactions. So you don't need to have 4 or 5 people to do all these kind of things. Even nowadays, bank reconciliation is super fast. You just get your bank feeds, and then it automatically reconcile with your cash book or with your bank book, and it will give you a report which transactions are not missing, which transactions are missing. But at this point of time, artificial intelligence is still not that intelligent. It still requires a lot of manual efforts to be able to get the right reports, but the process is happening. Uh, so entry of invoices is automated nowadays, even to the extent that you just scan the invoices, and the app would automatically recognize who is the supplier, which account would it need to go, how much is the amount, if it's paid in cash or not, and then you will just record that. So recording is taken care by this scan, right? Bank reconciliations, you go to Zero, you go to Zoho, you go to Odoo, you go to any online app nowadays. It takes the automatic real-time feed from the bank and will match the transactions directly. Even from the bank feed, you just create the accounting entries and bank reconciliation is automatically done. So ideally, there's no difference between the cash book and bank book, because you are practically writing the bank book from the cash, from your bank book from the bank feed directly, which is coming into your accounting app. So that account, then again, you don't need a one person just to reconcile the bank. I remember the days when we had a head count just only to reconcile the bank accounts. He had no other job, just only the reconciliation, because there was so many transactions that we used to have in the bank, and then that person's job was just to reconcile on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, and see whether all the transactions are getting through or not. Then you have legal contracts analysis. Now there are machine reading, like document reading apps, which would read the legal contracts and highlight if there is any, is there any in there any clause which is not a standard, right? So you could provide a standard contract, and then you would give, and then you will it will automatically analyze the contract which is written against the standard points, and then it will highlight whatever is not a standard or if something is missing. So usually when you are you are an accountant, and you would know that the legal contracts can go as long as 5 pages, 10 pages, 20 pages, 30 pages, and there are tons of transactions, tons of clause which are very very standardized. And in order to sign fast, you would just say, okay, these are standard, this looks standard, and then you go over it. But there are minute details which can be very very dangerous for the future disputes, if any. Like for example, just a very simple case of where is the jurisdiction. So you would really not pay attention if you are in a hurry and you know that's a standard thing, but the jurisdiction is a very very important. Termination clauses, the standard liability clauses. So these kind of contracts, these kind of analysis, this can be done by artificially intelligent softwares, which makes the life of accountants, life of finance professionals very very easy, because you are now able to analyze them super fast and write the new contracts based on the artificially intelligent software. So the role of artificial intelligence is not limited to these, in entering of invoices, bank reconciliation, legal contract analysis. Artificial intelligence is also doing the predictive analysis based on your data. They would analyze what would be your next spend, how much it would be next year, how much you would need to spend, or whether the supplier is going to pay your invoices or not, whether or what is the likelihood of the collection of these invoices, and all those kind of things. They are all done through the artificial intelligence. You just have to provide them the data, right? So that's very very important change to watch for. So that would impact the fixed headcount of the accounting staff, because you may not need any of those mundane, you don't need any FTE for mundane jobs. You can manage the accounting for your business with just a few peoples onboarded. uh, in the past, the accounting organization chart used to be like a pyramid, where the top is very small and then the bottom is very heavy, because you have many many staff, right? But now with the advent of artificial intelligence, it would probably like look like an inverse or like a diamond shape, where you have very few people doing the data entry, because they can do this, use the artificial intelligence to do the data manipulation, data entry. The more would be on the data analysis, and then a few people's on the top, right? So that would become a diamond shape. Few people's on the top, middle heavy, and then bottom very thin. So that's the change, one change that you would see in the accounting software. Then the next one is the cloud-based accounting software. We now know, in from the manual books to the softwares to the server room, which to the software which used to be on a computer, and then we moved on to the premise based, which were connected with the other destinations or other multiple locations through the virtual internet, secured VPNs. Now too going to be in the cloud-based accounting softwares, which can be used by mobile, can be used by web app from anywhere in the world. So the time is now coming for cloud-based accounting software. Even the premise-based accounting softwares, which runs on the hard servers on the property, are also moving towards offering the cloud-based accounting software or cloud-based interface, even though the software can still remain in the premises for the data security. However, the accounting entry and the user interface could be cloud-based, rather than you have to access it only from a desktop or a laptop sitting inside the properties, because the accounting Staff nowadays is spreading over. Some many of them are working from home, many of them are working on the go. Executives need reports on the go. The softwares are combining the facilities or the features, so they need to access it, right? They cannot just sit in the office to access accounting software. So the cloud based accounting softwares are coming in the age. There are tons of them. Even just make a simple Google search, you will see tons of accounting softwares which are now cloud based and subscription basis. So they are usually companies which offer ERPs, and they are integrated accounting software with the ERP. So they are not just offering accounting software; they are offering inventory systems, HR systems, purchasing systems, CRM, and all are interconnected. So once you make a client in CRM, it automatically flows into the accounting software. So you don't need to have a manual job like in the past when I remember we used to have five systems for five different things. We used to have one for purchasing, one for CRM, one for the property management, one for the accounting, one for the cost control. So different accounting software for different things. And you would have to have a similar same transaction code, same names of the vendor, same name of the customer in every software. And it's very painful to combine the reports, even if there is a dot, if there's a difference of one single dot or one single space. So the integrated accounting software with ERPs makes life super easy. Data analysis very easy because you have the same data structure to apply. These cloud-based softwares are also secured. It offers safe data storage and is backup in case of emergency. Nowadays, you would see there are so many political differences, natural disasters everywhere. So data is not safe. In a traditional way, you would save the data by having a backup and a backup of backup in different locations, right? But now with the cloud-based accounting software, you don't have to worry about it anymore because the software providers, the one who are hosting the software, are taking the database and is secured. And not, usually they don't have one server; they have multiple servers in multiple countries, and all are mirrored together, so that you could access it from anywhere without any hassles or without any time gap. Because if you are in US, sitting in US, and the server is in India, it will take a long time. So what they do is they have a mirror server in US or in Europe, so that the access time is limited. And then they have a better UI, very simple UI. The finance system, the accounting systems were not known for being for having a beautiful UI, right? They used to have a very bad user interface because they require that to be like this. But nowadays with these apps, most of them are having a web app. Some of them are very good with the mobiles also, and they come up with the mobile applications. So the user interface is pretty simple and is colorful. It's easy to navigate with the thumb, and because there are signs with how you are going to use the mobile apps. So they come with a better user interface, and the learning curve is very fast. Rather than non-financial people who used to learn the financial systems, it makes their life really difficult. Now it's very easy. And then they can quickly analyze the system, analyze the transactions and red flag and create the red flags, because it's cloud based. The processing system is automated. So the whenever the transaction is appearing, they automatically analyze it with their algorithms, and to identify if there's anything wrong in the transactions. So it's easier to find the flaws in these accounting software. So there are many different cloud based accounting softwares. I encourage you to look at that. Some are industry specific, some are general. Then the next change you would see is the digital transformation of everything. Even though what we have seen so far in the first two, use of artificial intelligence and use of cloud-based softwares, they are pretty much part of digital transformation. So we are still talking about digital transformation. However, there are many ways in which the digital transformation is affecting the other processes. So accounts payable, the recording of the invoices, to paying the invoices, to settling the to reconciling with the supplier, It's all can be done digitally. So there are now softwares which are providing customer portals, which and supplier portals where the supplier can upload the invoice automatically. It records, it scans the invoice, it records it automatically in your accounting software, and the due dates are generated automatically. And then when the systems is up, when the due dates is arriving, it automatically creates an alert for the accounting payable processor. They will just go into the process the payment. The payment is done automatically from the system through the bank. There is no manual intervention, and the report is updated on the supplier portal. So the supplier is able to see what payment they have received, what payment they have outstanding, what are the issues with the invoices, and whether that has been paid or not. If the payment has been generated, which invoice has been paid. So you don't have to have multiple staff in accounts payable to handle these kind of transactions. So digital transformation can really help to make processes faster, scale the business, and also maintain the FTE, low FTE, because it does involve a capital investment, but it saves a lot of time and creates a transparency. Similar way for invoicing and collections, there are customer portals where you issue the invoices. The customer gets notified that the invoice has been created. Like nowadays, the subscription companies are working. You could create the invoices, you could create auto pay, you could create the subscription based on automatic collection, based on the preferred payment methods. So that all is done automatically whenever the system or the services are produced. The person responsible for servicing, they just update the system that this invoice has been generated. Invoice will automatically go to the customer. The customer will look at it, pay online or pay offline or however, and then it just then the person will just update the collections is done on. And then what more can see is also that the even though the collections is done, what happens if the collections are not there? So the system will automatically remind the customer that their dues are there, right? If the dues are not paid on some time, it can even automatically cut the services. If you are providing a digital access or something, that could easily be done without having a manual intervention. But that being said, is very dangerous sometimes, because the algorithms are very strict. In the business, we are not that strict. We may have to be accommodative to the supplier, to the customer needs. So whenever you are doing a digital transformation, you need to be wary of what are the preferences of the business, whether they want to how strict they want to go with the rules based accounting. So these are called rule based processes, which are very strict and very difficult to maintain. And then the expense approvals and claim processing are also getting digitalized. There are apps where you can take a you can take a travel advance online, you apply online, you get it online, you get paid into your account. While you are going on the go, you can upload the invoices into your claims, and then just submit the claim, and it will automatically process the claim, right? If your money is more, you would require to pay back, or if the money is less, you would get a check. So that kind of thing is also happening. In the past, we used to have, I remember when around 10 years 15 years back, I used to do a audit of a news agency. And as you would imagine, news agency had tons of reporters, and all of them take travel advance. So there was two peoples working only on travel advance, just only working on travel advance. They manage the advance given, they manage whether the claim has been submitted or not, the claim is good or not, and then they will just adjust whether the person has to return the money or person has to pay the money. And then the approval process, whether the claim has been approved by the department head, by the finance, by the relevant persons or not. So those are all, it was a whole department. And there was pain that the peoples don't get their travel claims fast enough. There were frauds that people use the money from the travel claims. When they are submitted, they don't submit to the bank, and then they could use the money. So there was a lot of things happening in that news agency. Now when I look at that, once they have done the digital transformation, it's fast and is easier. There's less chances of fraud. Then there are smart contracts. You may issue contracts using the new technology for called blockchain. You might be aware of cryptocurrencies and the bitcoins. So they use the underlying technology called blockchain. The same blockchain is being used for contracts, smart contracts, which are issued. Once it's issued, it's done, and you cannot change it. Anybody can have access to those smart contracts. So that's again another benefit, another digital transformation. This is not used as frequently as of now, but it's coming very fast. And the real-time data visualization, there are multiple apps like Power BI, Tableau, or there are other applications which creates data visualization in real time. They fetch the data from your servers, update there are models, data models. You create a data model, and then the dashboards are created in the Power BI or in Tableau. Whenever there is a new data, the data visualization is automatically updated immediately, so you could see it real time. So there are certain dashboards which you want to see every day, which you want to see every week. And if you ask, if you need finance or accounting to update those visualization, it will take weeks. Rather than that, they are connected to the server, and then you could get updated visualization on your palms, because they all have mobile and Android apps. So that's digital transformation on very some aspects. There are many more, like payroll processing, like the accounting or the submission of tax returns, submission of your annual reports. There are many other which are also on the way of digital transformation. So these are just a few of them in processing. So that's again another change with that you will see in coming days. Many of them are already happening. Some of them will happen. So there are some use cases of this digital transformation. So there are digital dashboards where you create the real-time visualization. So there were some uh, team sports like football, basketballs. They have jersey sales week on a week. They allow the retail chains to update the stocks of the specific players based on their performance. So if their performance is good, they know that the demand for the demand for these jerseys gonna increase. They can increase, and then the stock is not enough. They can produce more and will make the available stock. If they think the performance is going down, they would stop providing more stocks, because they expect the sales will go down. So that's one type of the use case that are being used in the industry. And then onboarding in financial institutions, you if you have applied for a credit card, if you applied a new digital banking, usually you get automated onboarding. So you apply online, you get your credit card approved automatically or your bank account approved automatically, and then you would get your data entries automatically for every new customer. So that would reduce the time and the errors. I remember the day when I opened the bank account, my name was spelled wrong on the bank account itself, you can imagine. And my date of birth was wrong, so because it was manual, there was typo error, and then I have to go and take 10 days to change that. Right now, because I am providing that data, I cannot claim that is wrong, right? Because I am providing it, and the bank is giving us a dashboard to change it ourselves. So we can change few things by ourselves if we have the proof, right? So that's the another use case. And there are compliances. So compliances also are require us to have a very very important aspect. So the dashboards can let us know if we are in compliance with the local limits. So it would analyze the data immediately and look at whether we are still within the limits, especially for the industry where the penalty is very very high. For example, shipping companies, for example, mining companies, for example, oil drilling companies, for example, the factories where they have to disseminate the sewage, whether that is within the limit prescribed by the municipality or not. So those all things can be prevented if we have digital records, right? So that's the some use cases of digital. Then you would know that there are workplace wellness. COVID or the pandemic has been creating very a lot of stress. A lot of employees have no job, but many of them has double or triple job because that's how they are surviving. And it requires to work from home where the home may not have working conditions, and they may have no time difference between their working and their off, right? Because you have meetings all around the time, and you may not be in a position to attend those meetings. So the workplace wellness is another concern that requires that demotivates the professionals. And accounting professionals are not skipped from it. They are not spared from it. So there are multiple schemes that are done through the wellness. So the first thing is management of those schemes is important. So there are many tax laws nowadays which requires that if we are doing something for employee wellness or workplace wellness, there will be tax incentives. So we have to manage that tax incentive. We have to manage those schemes and claim those tax benefits. So there are many wellness programs that are considered as a benefit to the employee and requires a withholding tax. So if we are doing it manually, it may create a lot of problems, especially when you have like thousands of employees. So we need to be able to manage those schemes. And then the reimbursement is an additional task. Let's say you are saying that, okay, to have a wellness, we allow the employee to go on a 2 days leave without any or up to a limit of some amount, and then they can spend first, claim later. So that usually happens, and managing of these reimbursement is an additional task on accounting staff. So accounting staff is getting burdened because of this, even though the employees or the organizational peoples are getting benefit at this. And then the tax impact of such expenses are also changing. There are usually incentives by the government to motivate the organization to run those kind of wellness programs. So the finance or accounting has to make sure that they are taking the advantage of those tax incentives, or they are paying tax on withhold and collecting withholding tax if it's required. And some of them may not be allowed in the tax return, so you may have to be careful with that. So it means that the finance staff has to be really updated on the latest tax laws, latest parliamentary policies on what is allowed, what is not allowed, what is being accepted, right? So you have to so the finance staff has to be really on top of it. And then take the benefit of such schemes, accountant usually have burnout, right? Because um, so you can take those schemes, the benefit of those schemes, because accountants are also burn out also very fast because of because of the additional workload that you have. Even though I'm saying that there are many automations happening, but it is taking a process, right? It's taking time, and doing the transformation process from being manual accounting to the digital transformation, there's a lot of things that needs to be done. There's a lot of data transformation, there's a lot of manual entries into the system. So it takes a lot of burnout. I have done a ERP implementation in my latest organization for 16 different locations, and it took a 1 year to get the things done. And there was a lot of people involved, around 100 people were involved in updating those things. Even until now, we still face the issues of untrained staff or wrong entries by the staff, or these kind of issues. So the accountants get burned out especially when we are transforming from the manual not so digital to digital transformation. So definitely they need some schemes to be better, and they are needed for employee engagement, better employee engagement. Then the next change we see in the accounting industry is online collaboration and remote workforce. Accounting and finance were some departments which were said that you cannot do it online, because they you require to print the papers, get approvals on paper, and then prepare the check in finance, and then submit it for payment, right? So there were a lot of printing need required to be done. So it could not be done online. Even in my current organization, when the COVID hit, we still had to come to office for preparing the papers, signing the checks, paying off the suppliers, because of the lack of digital infrastructure. But now there are multiple tools for the online collaboration and having a remote workforce, including the approval processes. So there are some use of the cloud-based program for meeting. They have their own benefits and they have their own risk. So we are not discussing the pro and cons of these challenges, but what we are discussing is the availability. So the cloud-based programs includes the meeting software, but there are challenges with the trust and productivity monitoring. So how would you know that a person is working if they have to clock 8 hours? Are they clocking 8 hours? That requires the management a shift in the management mindset to say that we trust the employees for their job, right? And the productivity is there. Even if we know that we cannot clock them 6 hours or 8 hours, or they may be doing personal things there during that time. We have been facing this in our personal organizations as well, where we feel that, oh, the employee may not be working while they may be working because they are just sitting at home, right? So that kind of things are required especially when you want to apply those cloud-based programs. Data security is another concern for accounting and finance professionals, because we are sharing a lot of data, like we are sharing P&Ls, we are sharing accounting entries over the cloud software, over the Zoom, over the Google Meet, and they are stored on the other web, which we don't know how secure they are. So the data security is another channel. So we either use the intranet like VPN, closed VPN for highly sensitive transactions, and for general discussion, you can use the open software like Zoom or Google Meet or any other software. So that's again another issue which we have to remember while dealing with the online changes. Collaboration tools helps sharing and discussing better, but when it comes to discussing of strategic issues, you cannot discuss it over Zoom because you are not able to see the person in full. You are not able to feel their presence in your close proximity. You will not go and you cannot go and have a outside chit chat, right, which is outside the topic. So usually Zoom and other applications are good because you can sit anywhere in the world and talk, but they are only talk about the work, and you cannot really gossip around, which is also important for collaboration. And then the virtual office rooms are is also getting common in the shared workspace. So to give a sense of physical environment, like Facebook is creating e-rooms where you can sit, you can feel yourself sitting face to face of different persons, but again, it does not give you the same experience as a physical office. Then there is another challenge that sometimes document and expense approval process is not that robust, because either you are scanning the document and sending over WhatsApp message or the other messenger or the instant messaging or via email, but then it does not have a robust or a foolproof system for expense approvals. So the companies are now investing into the expense approval system so that the expenses are approved via another softwares, or the documents are approved or signed digitally. So those kind of process are still ongoing, and we still need to see a lot more updates, a lot more platforms to be taking care of these aspects of expense approvals, because once we go back to normal, it may become a new normal, right? Or you may not be having a complete audit trail of who approved the expense, what they approved, what if somebody change in the process. So there is no physical documentation which are undeniable. So that's kind of processes are still necessary. They are being developed. There are some already available in the market, but many of them are still under development. Then the accountants role are also evaluating. So accountants with the automation, accountants are and will be evolving as a strategic partner. So they are not only going to do the accounting, prepare the journals, and prepare the P&L. They would be looking at more as a strategic partner to evaluate the results and provide insights rather than just only prepare. Accountants are also required to ensure the data integrity and security because we are working on cloud-based software, as we have discussed in our previous slides. They are change enabler into the organization because the digital transformation requires change management. So they become the change enabler because they understand the processes very well. They have to also be practicing the emotional intelligence to drive the team performance because the emotional intelligence is getting more and more important being we are away from each other. So there are emotional intelligence when you are working on the Zoom. There are emotional intelligence when you are dealing with the performance issues. There are emotional intelligence required when you have a conflict or when you have a change, right? And the accountants are also required to align the business process with the goal. So there is a shift from what we expect from accountants in the past and what we expect from accountants now, right? So accountants are no more required to prepare the data or prepare the financial statements only. They are more involved in strategic partnership, data integrity, emotional intelligence, and the business processes. So that's the shift in the accounting role. There's a shift in the demands from the accountants. So what does mean for accounting industry? It means that the accountants have to learn more on data analysis, change management, or you can call it a project management. Have to be emotionally intelligent. Means you have to be able to drive the emotional intelligence towards the team performance. So you have to manage the team members as individuals. There are no more rule-based management, and also have to deal with the situation as it around, especially when it comes to the individual peoples, and also align the processes with their goals. Then the next change which we see are the data visualization, analytics, and forecasting tools. So there are a few apps which helps in data visualization. So the Power BI and Tableau is helping with the data visualization, which takes the real-time data from your servers and put it onto the dashboards. Then there are Delphi and Cognos, which are used for forecasting. Forecasting is getting more and more important, especially during when we are uncertain, when we are changing the planning very often. So we have to change the forecast of our business so that we have a very strong plan of what is the business on the books, how much expense we should commit, what should be the commitment towards the capital budgeting. So that requires you to have a robust forecasting system or budgeting system. Now, Excel is a very powerful tool, but it's not as good as when it comes to multiple locations, when it comes to consolidating the data into one sheet. So the automated softwares like Delphi or Cognos comes in handy when where you are have to collaborate multiple businesses into one or multiple locations into one. Excel can help, but it's prone for errors. So the benefit of these are they have AI tools for visualization and also for the forecasting. They can generate a pre-forecast, so which you can use. Easier consolidation for business units, locations, systems into one place, and also create a data model for future visualization and control or comparing the actual versus the business. And sharing and publishing again is insights are much more easier in Power BI and Delphi, not in Excel because you have to share the entire file. So only analyzing the analyzing the data is not important. The sharing and the publishing of this data to the end user is even equally important, right? So that's the power when it comes to Power BI and Tableau, Delphi, and Cognos. So if you are not aware of these tools or yet, or if you don't know how to use these tools yet, I would encourage you to go and learn these because these are going to be the future for accountants. Then the next thing the data has been changing is the data security. As we have seen that there are cloud-based accounting software, we are using a lot of data, we are aiming towards a data digital transformation. But we have to be remembering that as of now, whatever data we have digitally, there is a 29% of the frauds which happens due to cyber attacks. So not attach is cyber attacks and the data thefts. Around $49 billion are left are lost every year due to this cyber attacks and data theft. There has been many organizations which are under attack like Samsung, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Marriott. They all become victims. And most important thing, the personal data of the customers, the credit card information, the bank account information is stolen, and sometimes they are blackmailed. There are power attacks which which use the denial of service attacks. So these companies have to shell out millions in order to fix those things, and it also creates a a problem with their brand and with their recognition in or their brand image in the market. So that requires more, and with the more cloud computing and planning, the risk increase, right? So we have to manage those risks again, and then because we are handling the accounting and finance, so we must also be aware of data security challenges and cyber security laws. So we are not, I'm not saying that we must be well aware with the cyber security. We have to learn cyber security, but we must know the best practices so that we don't get into the trap of the hackers or the fraudsters, so that our data is gone. Because there are many ways on the social media on the that makes the people's fool, or ask them to clickbait, and then their whole system is hacked and the data is theft. And since accounting and finance employees keep a lot of data on their systems, and most of them is really really private, so it has to be they have to be more careful in that. Then the vigilance of the tax planning and benefits, because there are many tax benefits which are happening all over the world with the stimulus packages and the government tax benefits. So the accounting staff has to be aware of those stimulus packages and that are being launched to take advantage of the tax planning. So and sometimes it may require them to update their financial reporting process, because they may have to change and the accounting standards are changing. So they may have to be aware of those changes to update the chart of accounts, update the process of accounting, updates the way you are recording the expenses, so that you can take the advantage of tax planning. And then there has to be a prompt response and changes of thus announcements to take advantage of these new stimuluses, whichever is required. uh, Again, another big thing which is in the talks is about the ESG, environmental, social, and governance practices. It require because there are many investors nowadays who want to invest only in ESG. So how does it impact the accountant? Accountants are not responsible for environment, social, and governance, but they are responsible for reporting. So there are usually now increased reporting requirements on ESG. So that also is going to come up to the financial controllers or CFOs or accountants to be able to gather the data about the ESG and report it. So there are global powers, they are being committed to carbon neutral or even negative footprint. So they are also expected to have a socially responsible behavior and the transparency. So there are a lot of requirements for the reporting, right? And the SEC or the financial reporting bodies are creating the standards and the processes for the reporting to standardize the reporting over the ESG. So you have to be aware of those things and prepare your accounting processes, prepare your financial data collection processes to be able to report those environmental impacts, carbon footprints, social responsible behavior, and governance issues. And then the lastly is the convergence with the IFRS. The entire world is now getting more and more, is adopting more and more on IFRS, even though there are local differences with the IFRS, but more like 80%, 90%, they are in line with IFRS. There's a lot of convergence which is happening. So you may also have to be required to update your financial reporting processes into IFRS. So and then, but the problem with the companies with the multiple locations have to face that they have to comply with the local regulations as well, and it may require them to have multiple changes for the international consolidation, especially when it comes to foreign exchange or differences in accounting practices that are happening between the global standards and the local standards. So that again is require accountants to be more careful and more vigilant on the changes in IFRS. Then the last thing is the outsourcing or gig economy. So there are now you would see rise of Upwork, Fiverr, or working from home freelancers that can do small things, right? So nowadays there are a lot of there are a lot of companies who are hiring not a full-time CFO but a part-time CFO, not a full-time accountant but a part-time accountant to do base things, right? To do required things. They may hire them for the last 4 5 days of the month just to prepare the accounting entries and prepare the financial statements. They may not hire an accountant for all the things. So the gig economy is there and is expected to grow. So accountants or accounting industry can take the benefit of those gig economy by outsourcing some of the jobs to these gig economy, which is cheaper in a way and faster, and you get a lot of expertise without having to pay for them for all of them at the same time, right? So you could pay for like pay as you go service. So you want an expertise, you go to the platform, you hire them and pay them as your job done, and you are good. So accounting staff and CFOs are actually using gig freelancers for many of these tasks, uh, for the compliances, for the converging of IFRS, for the reporting requirements, for financial models, for creating the business models, and there are a lot of other things which are also required to be done in order to get these things done. So that's pretty much all the changes that we have that there are there or coming in the way of accounting industry. Let's look at some of the polls questions that we have prepared, which is based on this short talk that we have done. So can we launch the polls? The first question, oh sorry, that's it. You have few more minutes. Great. We have few more seconds to go by. We are at 95%, 21 out of 22. So you need to answer the poll questions in order to get the CPE certificate. We'll be closing the poll in, okay, 21 of 21. Yeah, so thank you. The majority of answer that is going to be ready in the next 3 years, three next 6 months. So there's another one. Sorry. So uh, there's another poll, another question for you. What changes you think are going to impact the most use of the artificial intelligence? Cloud-based software, remote work. The first is the actually use of accounting, use of artificial intelligence. So if you want to answer, you can write in the comments. Okay, we have another two, three more participants to answer. Okay, the answer was divided. It was mostly for the cloud-based software. It was equally for cloud-based software, remote work, and data analytics. And then the last question for today that we have is here on your screens. What time frame you are considering to transform your accounting and finance process via digital transformation? Okay, we have only few more seconds for this poll, for this question. Okay, most of you have answered that you're ready for digital transformation only next year. While many of you, like 26% and 46, 16% have saying that within 3 months or within 6 months, which is good. For those who are willing to take for next year, probably you may have to do it faster. Let's look at some questions. If you have any questions, now is